What is happening? J Game Dude here, and we kind of knew it, but we didn't want to believe it. For those of us that are within the particular community, we did not want to believe it. Sony reportedly is making cuts to PSVR game funding, and this is all coming out sort of internally. Again, nothing has really been talked about from Sony's perspective, but effectively, that's kind of what we're looking at the moment. The fact that, they are making an adapter which has actually been officially announced for PSVR2 to work on PC, and also but the thing is that it's worth pointing out, a lot of the PSVR2 features are not going to be supported on VR games on PC unless people start, modding it and trying to find a way around that. But yeah, it's been, unfortunately, I feel like Sony has betrayed the PSVR2 because they haven't been supporting it. Because the thing is that when it comes to new pieces of technology, especially when you talk about VR, you need to support the device because the device cannot support itself. You support the device, and then that'll bring more people to it, then they start supporting the device, and then that's when you slowly walk away from supporting it yourself. At the moment, from what I could think of, I can only think of one, maybe two PSVR2 games that are actually first party. One being the Horizon climbing game, Call of the Mountain, and the other being a shooter similar to that of like a sequel to the game that was on PSVR 1 as well, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's probably saying a lot more than people seem to realize. So this reporting about Sony making cuts to PSVR 2 funding is actually coming from Android Central, and the fact that Sony does in fact have a warehouse of PSVR 2 units that they are trying to also get rid of in equal capacity, because it was also reported earlier on in the year that their warehouses are full of them and they want to sell the stock that they currently have, and as a result they actually have stopped making more units as a result. And what's most surprising about all of this is this last highlight here. More so, only 2 first-party titles are currently in development according to the report, which hurts because the thing is that, again, so it does not feel like Sony is supporting the device. These 2 first-party titles that are in development have not been talked about. They have not been reported on until now. Only 2 first-party games have really released on the PSVR 2 since its launch in February. We are now in June. It's been 4 months. They haven't announced any more titles that are coming, but we know that there are 2 in development. We just don't know if they will actually end up releasing. That's another thing that's really going to hurt a lot. But worth pointing out that the whole using PSVR 2 on PC, as I was mentioning earlier, is paywalled behind a $60 proprietary cable, so you do need to really spend some money. And also, the fact of the matter is that there's an Astrobot game coming out, and at least from what we are aware or what we know about it, we don't actually have any confirmation it's going to support PSVR 2, or that it is going to be a partially PSVR 2 game or have some PSVR 2 modes, because the thing is that when they released PSVR 2, there was no backwards compatibility with PSVR 1, and PSVR 1 had so many bangers, like it says right here, Astrobot Rescue Mission. Obviously we did get games like Beat Saber and stuff like that, but there are still so many PSVR 1 titles that I wish we could use with PSVR 2, but ultimately that never came to be. And one thing I would certainly say is the nail in the coffin, for sure, from its launch, that is still painful to, look back at. Actually, when did PSVR 2 actually release? Hold on. Because I think I might have done an oopsie and said the wrong date. Release date. No, PSVR 2 came out last year, not this year. Sorry, made a complete mistake. February 22nd, 2023. less than 600,000 units sold. Jesus Christ, wow, that is pretty bad. Don't get me wrong, there are still games that are coming for it. It's just that if Sony doesn't support it, it's going to go the way of the Vita, and it's clear 100% at this point. We didn't want to believe it, but that is absolutely what is happening. The Vita died because Sony stopped supporting it. PSVR2 is going to die because Sony didn't really even begin to support it. Yes, there are some games there, but ultimately, if Sony isn't putting their best foot forward, not a lot of other developers are going to. And a lot of the best stuff that we have are kind of really PSVR modes for games that don't even really need PSVR2, like Resident Evil 7. Actually, is Resident Evil 7's VR mode available in PSVR 2 because the PS5 version is available? Not too sure about that, but certainly that is the case for Resident Evil 4 Remake and Resident Evil Village for sure. But this is a sad story, unfortunately, and it does show Sony's lack of support towards other devices beyond its own flagship console, being whatever it may be. They supported the PSP even though they had the PS2, and then they went into the PS3 generation and then allowed people to play PSP games on their PS3 through their PSP through something called Remote Play. That then carried over into them making the Vita, which then, after the Vita release, they stopped supporting it pretty quickly in favor of keeping to they did support it at least for a few years, if nothing else, by actually releasing first-party titles on it from massive, first-party franchises. But also the fact that, the PS4 had then been out for, a year less, so they then kind of moved their support more so onto the PS4 during that time. And now with PSVR 2, it just seems like they really just did not try at all and just only released a couple of games with only a couple more to come, and even then we don't really know whether or not they're even going to release. So yeah, that's probably the biggest surprise of all. But let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 300 subs by the end of the year. Feel free to comment about all of this. Again, it's just a sad story as a whole. I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.